Okay. I think we might be live. So, hello everyone, welcome back. This is my third time I'm on the page today, but this time we are going to be talking about list building and research. So this is an area that I know you guys want to know about. And so I'm just going to talk to Syed real quick. Syed Hussein is an expert at lead generation and research. And so yesterday we talked a little bit about a business plan. Today we're going to talk some more about research on yourself and your business. So Syed, take it away.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for inviting me again today. And it's nice being here. And hi, everyone. Also, as we go, I encourage you to ask your questions if you have any. So let's start with the research part. This is part 2, I guess, from continuation of where we left off from yesterday's discussion. So, I mean, when the journey begins, a person starts to work on building the business. The first thing that they would do after, I mean, the things that we discussed yesterday, like the decision making and moving forward from there, when you have when you have a strong decision taken, the next thing is to do a little bit of, the next thing actually is the research part. But before you actually get into the business research and the other aspects of it, it's a little research on yourself is also very important. So this actually helps you to understand your strengths, your capabilities, and how exactly are you going to be presenting yourself to the public and to the people and to your target audience next. So doing this bit of research is very important because this actually helps you make your presentations. Now, just imagine if you have to address an audience, or if you are with your target audience, I mean, in any form, it could be you are emailing them, or you're talking to them, or you are in a group discussion where you would like to present your offerings, so your business services. The way you present is actually what will create the impact. So first, the research needs to be done on what the product is and how well you know your product, how well you know your service, and what is the value that you actually bring to the table, and how are you going to help them. Rather than how you're going to sell the product, it should be how are you going to solve their problems. So that is something that will catch people's attention. It should not appear salesy when you actually talk about when you're actually on a discussion in a business meeting, or probably presenting your idea to a client or a prospect, that something is being sold to them. Rather, it has to be in a direction where you are trying to make it into a discovery call, where you're trying to get to know about their challenges, their problems, and how you as a service provider or a vendor are capable of handling that problem or solving it for them, making life easier. So that requires you to have good mastery of your own product, your own service, knowing it in and out. And apart from that, also, they would like to know you as a person, your experiences, the story behind you, your vision. And this actually totals up to adding credibility to your own status as a business professional, as an entrepreneur. I mean, that actually leads you to being trusted among a certain community of professionals. So that is where you actually get your business connections and your prospects from. So after that, the next step is to start research on your surroundings. Now, what do I mean when I say your surroundings? There are a lot of people like you who are trying to be in business, who are trying to start their business, or who are trying to overcome certain issues and problems. Uh, if you would have to do a research of people like you, connect with them, the best places for you to look out is forums and groups online, where professionals like you are trying to be in business, or handling problems, or discussing among groups about how certain issues, problems can be handled, or how certain challenges could be certain challenges that they are facing, which they would like the other members to know, so that this comes as good advice from more experienced people. These are all things that you could benefit from. So researching on the groups, researching on forums, and researching on sources from where you can meet up people like you is very important, so that you stay connected with the community. And this actually helps you in long term, because if you had to attend classes and pay for them, if you had to attend coaching classes, or if you had to attend, maybe hire a mentor, or maybe uh, do those costly workshops, which of course maybe you would do maybe once in a few months, you couldn't be afford to, I mean, you couldn't afford the training on a continuous basis, maybe not once in a month or twice a month. Yes, these free groups are a good source of information to you, and that too from your peers who are more experienced. And this is a good place for you to be. Once you have done the research and you are among people who are like-minded, that actually gives you a lot of connections around. So you could get connected, speak to people, and see if there are opportunities that you could investigate, and then take it to the next level, talking to them about making your proposals and so on and so forth. So that is one. And after that, you have to research a little bit on yourself. I mean, this is something I started talking about yesterday. I give this a lot of importance, because if you have to make a good presentation, if you have to make a presentation, which of course happens to be your pitch too, in a very short, concise, and yet a very understandable manner, so that even a layman could understand the language and is able to understand what you actually do and what you provide, and that not being more than a few minutes, and the rest of the time that you spend on a discussion with the prospect being all about the prospect and not about you. So that's something that you would be able to shape up after phrasing or rephrasing your presentations in a lot of different ways, and finally coming up with that final version of that presentation that becomes the you. So that is something very important. So that everybody has to have a presentation ready. If at all you have a chance to speak about yourself in 2 or 3 minutes, I mean, you make an introduction that is really to the point, precise, and yet not time consuming. So these are things that we normally encourage starters to research on.
Mhm.
And after that, when we talk about making these presentations, there are other things also that go into these presentations, and the research that you would have to do. Like when you go through the simple process of the SWOT analysis that I spoke about yesterday. So thankful to all the mentors and the great marketing gurus around who have given us this very simple technique, like a SWOT analysis, that actually helps you uh, understand yourself in a very simple manner, not becoming too technical about it. Of course, there are various other tools of self-assessment, but for starters, this is something very simple and easy to do. So that's something that I would recommend. So once you know about your own capabilities, your strengths, these are certain things that you could add to your presentations to make them more appealing, so that the prospects are able to understand you in a better way, connect with you in a better way, and also have confidence in you as a provider.
Mhm.
So that really helps. Then you start investigating and you start researching the industry, and also start researching on the target audience. And this is very important, because the next step for you would be to start your prospecting. Because when you have to do a prospecting, one of the first things that you would have to do is start creating a list of prospects. So how do you do that? And that comes from research. And there are so many sources from where you could actually get this information. Now, it depends on what kind of a service or a product that you have in mind. So, for example, I'm just trying to give you a small example. If you are into manufacturing, there are so many different categories of industries listed in the NAICS lists, or I mean, this is the NAICS codes. Or you can actually look it up in the SIC codes of industries, where you have different categories mentioned, and if you can pick and choose whatever you would want to create a list for. Probably that
Let's
could be your target audience.
Yeah, let's talk about coaches because that's mostly in this audience. So where would coaches find leads?
It's very simple. It depends on if a coach is something like, he's trying to coach particular professionals from a certain industry. Say he would want to coach someone only from the manufacturing industry. So then he can look out for prospects, or he could look out for the list of companies from only that particular industry segment that he seeks. Maybe he wants to concentrate on heavy industry, or maybe something like plastics, or maybe something like automotive. I'm just trying to give an example here. So you have extensive lists available. I mean, if you actually go to sic.com, and that's one of the
But what about
sources.
like life coaches? Because most of the people that are on my, in my audience are either life coaches or they're health coaches or they are, um, business coaches. So where would a life coach find leads? Because they
Well,
serve variety of people.
yes, I mean, for example, for a life coach, I mean, there is no kind of restriction as far as I understand. I mean, they might be coaching anybody and everybody across various industries.
Mhm.
So that is probably one thing which does not restrict them to one particular industry segment, and they would have to do some very refined searches and come up with data and finally do the list creation. Probably they might be looking. Coaches are normally looking for senior executives to coach, maybe the C level. Or maybe the D level, or maybe the managerial level people. If it's the C suite and the D suite, I mean, the best sources for these people happens to be, I mean, in today's world, LinkedIn is the best source of information. You also have other sources, like you have manta.com, where you can actually go and look out for companies and prepare the list, and then source out the business heads and the executives that you seek, the kind of executives that you seek. If you're only looking for C-suite or probably the managerial level, you can make your segments there. Also have sources like Bloomberg. You also have sources like they are paid sources, of course, like Zoom Info, Info USA, TradeShowCentral.com, and I mean, these are all places where you find listings for attendees of trade shows and so on. So that's I mean, there are so many sources from where you can get this information. Then the compiling is a very exhaustive job. The compiling is a very exhaustive job, because from one source you happen to get the company names, and then from other sources, like example Hoovers, you have the companies, and then you have the revenues, you have the addresses, you have the phone numbers, but you do not have the emails. Emails are one part which are very challenging, and these are something that you would have to do it sourcing yourself, or probably procuring an email list, or then you would have to do a process called email appending. So that completes your list if you're planning to send out emails en masse to a certain target audience.
Mhm.
So these are the preliminary steps involved in list building. I mean, if it's exhaustive, I can actually talk about it for hours,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
just trying to give you a picture of how this works.
yeah.
So
No,
that's
that's
about the list.
yeah, that's great information. So really knowing your audience and knowing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing what you can provide, knowing your value, and
Exactly.
being able to package that up into a nice, neat little, what do you do statement that is
Exactly. Exactly.
attractive to the audience you're trying to serve.
Right.
Most of the people, in this audience aren't going to be, they're it's a connection based, um it's a different kind of lead generation than just getting emails and things from a list. That doesn't
Right.
necessarily work. I've tried that, doesn't work because it's the personal connection that I think people are looking for. So the
Right.
what you were talking about is, social groups, being social, wherever your people hang out, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever social network they hang out. If you're doing this kind of marketing, if you are a life coach or a health coach or a relationship coach or a business coach, and you're coaching entrepreneurs, and not professionals, then you're going to find them mostly on social media. And
Sure, sure. I mean, that actually comes to a lot of referrals too, because once you have a certain connection among the target audience, and they're going to definitely refer you to a lot of other people too. So
yeah,
coaches get a lot of people coming in through referrals. That's
yes,
one great source for them.
Yeah, and it's a crowded world. So knowing this information about yourself is very helpful. So
True.
that's been
True.
great. Thank you so much, Syed. And we'll be back next week with
Hmm.
some more information. But before we go, we want to know what kind of interest you have in learning about planning your business, step-by-step practices that are step-by-step steps that are going to get you to the goal that you want in your business. And the what kind of interest do you have in having somebody really hold your hand and walk you through the process of improving your business and actually reaching a goal? So if this is something you're interested in, please let us know in the comments below, because we're trying to find out if this is something viable that we should even consider. So we will be back next week with some more tips on Thursday, I believe. And until then, thank you so much, Syed. I appreciate all of your expertise. And please, listeners, if you have any comments, post them below. Syed will get notified as well if there's any questions that he can answer within his expertise. So thank you so much, and thank you, Syed. And we will be back next week.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you very much.